In 1937, the secret police force in Dusseldorf contained only 43 individuals managing over 500,000 citizens. The Geheime Staatspolizei was a surprisingly small organization dependent entirely on paper records, files, and public cooperation. More than 80% of all political crime investigations started directly from tips sent in by ordinary members of the public. People filed these reports to settle neighborhood arguments, seize property, advance careers, or resolve bitter domestic disputes with spouses. Private citizens essentially acted as voluntary surveillance extensions, filtering local nonconformities straight to the desks of state investigators. Hermann Göring created the organization in 1933 by purging the Prussian political police of democratic elements and leftists. Heinrich Himmler gained control in 1934, merging it into the Schutzstaffel apparatus to unify all internal security forces. In 1936, a regional decree placed the agency entirely above the law, removing any possibility of judicial review. The agency became Department 4 of the Reich Main Security Office, under the direct operational command of Reinhard Heydrich. Initial crackdowns focused directly on destroying organized political opposition, targeting members of the Communist and Social Democratic parties. Surveillance quickly expanded to encompass religious minorities like Jehovah's Witnesses, homosexual individuals, and those labeled as socially deviant. The organization strictly enforced the Nuremberg laws, monitoring forbidden personal relationships between Jewish people and non-Jewish citizens. Agents utilized a legal mechanism called protective custody to arrest individuals without filing charges or permitting legal representation. This specific mechanism bypassed the court system entirely, allowing agents to send prisoners directly into concentration camp confinement. Official guidelines permitted intensified interrogation tactics, a bureaucratic euphemism for systematic physical torture during questioning sessions. Investigators intentionally inflicted severe bodily pain to secure quick confessions, knowing their actions were entirely shielded from external oversight or legal consequence. Torture methods included severe repeated beatings, prolonged isolation, deliberate food deprivation, and forcing prisoners to stand in complete darkness for multi-day periods. These exhausting routines were calculated to break psychological resistance before formal written transcripts were compiled. Because physical evidence was often entirely scarce, investigators relied heavily on extracting these forced confessions to close open files rapidly. A signed admission of guilt was the primary metric of success for an agent, rendering truth irrelevant to the process.
Every single case required a meticulous paper record containing typed transcripts, signed confessions, detailed family histories, and physical descriptions. These extensive card catalogs formed a massive data network that allowed a small staff to track thousands of individuals simultaneously. The agency deployed paid secret informants, known as confidential agents, inside industrial factories, local neighborhood bars, and large residential apartment buildings. These individuals listened for anti-regime statements, spreading a culture of suspicion across everyday social spaces. Nazi Party block wardens monitored daily neighborhood activities closely, reporting unusual behavior, unauthorized gatherings, or political grumbling directly to regional offices. This grassroots surveillance meant that citizens could never be certain if their private conversations remained confidential. Specialist technicians tapped telephone lines and intercepted domestic postal mail, targeting prominent foreign diplomats, suspected domestic subversives, and high-ranking officials. This electronic and physical interception provided early warnings of organized resistance or elite noncompliance. As war began in 1939, the domestic staff grew significantly, eventually peaking at roughly 32,000 employees nationwide. This number remained remarkably small compared to modern secret police forces, proving the efficiency of their citizen-dependent model. Agents spent vast amounts of energy monitoring millions of foreign forced laborers brought into the country to sustain vital industrial production. The state feared that these workers would organize resistance cells or sabotage factories, prompting constant monitoring and harsh disciplinary measures. Any slowdown in factory production or suspected industrial sabotage triggered immediate, brutal roundups and public executions directly on site. These public displays of violence were intentionally staged to terrorize remaining workers into total submission and maintain maximum manufacturing output. Expressing doubt about military victory or telling political jokes became capital offenses classified as demoralization of the military forces. Citizens were executed or sent to concentration camps merely for whispering skeptical comments about the regime's wartime propaganda. Gestapo personnel were regularly deployed into occupied territories across Europe, forming the leadership corps of mobile killing squads behind Eastern front lines. These units executed hundreds of thousands of civilians, demonstrating that the agency's mandate extended far beyond domestic policing. Department 4, subsection B4, managed by Adolf Eichmann, organized the intricate logistical transport of millions to extermination camps. This bureaucratic office coordinated train schedules and deportations with terrifying efficiency, integrating the secret police directly into the machinery of mass genocide.
In occupied Western Europe, agents worked closely with local collaborationist police forces to hunt resistance members and deport Jewish populations. By co-opting existing local authorities, a tiny handful of German officers managed to control vast foreign populations with minimal resistance. The agency continuously spied on other Nazi institutions, tracking internal corruption, potential treason, and shifting political loyalties among high-ranking figures. This internal espionage ensured that no independent power center could emerge to challenge the absolute authority of the leadership. State propaganda intentionally magnified the image of total omniscience, convincing ordinary citizens that an undercover agent was watching every single conversation. This psychological illusion created an environment of fear where individuals self-regulated their behavior to avoid notice.
This engineered myth of complete visibility allowed a tiny force to effectively control millions of people through psychological self-policing. The regime understood that the perception of total surveillance was far more powerful and cost-effective than actual physical oversight. Following the 1944 assassination attempt on Adolf Hitler, the agency arrested thousands of suspected military and political conspirators. Interrogators used extreme violence to uncover the full extent of the resistance networks, executing high-ranking officers without traditional trials. In the final chaotic months of the war, agents executed political prisoners and foreign forced laborers without trials to eliminate witnesses. These desperate actions aimed to erase evidence of wartime atrocities before Allied military forces overran the remaining detention centers.
As Allied armies advanced into Germany, headquarters staff burned millions of highly confidential case files in courtyards to obscure their crimes. This massive destruction of records successfully protected the identities of thousands of regular citizens who had served as informants. Many officers obtained forged identification documents, slipping quietly into civilian life, or later finding employment within new post-war intelligence agencies. Their specialized anti-communist experience made them attractive recruits for Western intelligence operations during the early Cold War era. The International Military Tribunal officially declared the entire organization a criminal enterprise during the 1946 war crimes trials. This legal designation meant that simple membership in the agency was sufficient grounds for prosecution, though enforcement varied widely.
Despite the tribunal ruling, a significant percentage of former operational investigators avoided prosecution and quietly rejoined local West German police forces. Their technical, administrative skills were prioritized over ideological cleansing, allowing them to shape post-war law enforcement structures. The historical record proves totalitarian control succeeds not through advanced surveillance technology, but by turning an entire population into active informants. Without the willingness of ordinary people to denounce their peers, the system of terror would have instantly collapsed. Understanding this operational structure reveals how easily authoritarian regimes exploit human maliciousness, petty greed, and societal division to build absolute power. The true horror lies in how readily normal individuals weaponize state terror for personal benefit.
Totalitarian terror is structurally dependent on the compliance of the masses, functioning only when regular citizens choose to participate in oppression. The ultimate defense against such systems remains individual non-cooperation and the refusal to denounce fellow citizens to authority.